ITRBoxing. You heard it here first. Pretty cool videos. And I heard they're also in HD. ITRBoxing.com.
All good. So I'll get this going. You're a man I've always wanted to talk to. I'm here with what's your official title? 2016 Olympic
Yeah, I was a 2016.
qualifier?
Yeah, I won the Olympic trials. That made me the 2016 Olympian.
Okay. And I mean, you just have had an interesting pro career. I follow amateur boxing, I follow pro boxing, but you were a guy that was on my radar because you're in that hotbed division and you came through the trials and it was like, what's going to be up with my man Paul Kroll? And then like a lot of different things happen and I haven't seen a lot of media coverage on you. So I'm excited to hear it from you yourself.
No problem. And I'm gonna tell you this, right? Don't be afraid to ask no questions, man. Any question you want to ask, you ask. I mean, if I don't feel comfortable, I'll be like, I don't want to talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I am a kind-hearted person and I never want to put boxers on a weird spot because the sport is so exploitive of y'all. But I'll just ask any question and then you just tell me like I just can't get into it.
Yeah, that's all yep, simple as that.
Okay, so my first thing for you is how did you get into boxing just in general?
All right, funny. So my story ain't like everybody's story. Well, kind of, sort of, but it ain't. See, I grew up fighting a lot, you know. So, but I always kind of wanted to do boxing because I knew friends that box. But I moved on block around 29th Lehigh in Philadelphia. And my coach that started me out, his name Dirk Gooden, called him Grasshopper. His kids lived on the same, they all lived on the same block my dad moved on. So I would watch him all the time. Oh, snap. My fault. I would watch him all the time and, you know, I just started, yo, can I get in there? They're like, can you get in there? You know, so I started sparring with him. I got up every morning and sit on his step at 5 in the morning. He was really sitting on his step 5 in the morning. So then eventually he just opened the door at 5 in the morning. He knew I was there. And I used to sneak to the gym at first because my parents actually didn't want to, at that time, they didn't want me to. But I was going to do what I wanted to do. It's something I fell in love with. But once I started fighting, you know, they supported me 100%. And that's how it all started, and I ain't looked back since.
When did you know you were good at it?
See, I always thought I was good, but when I really knew I was good was, see, I always knew I was good, but I always knew I was good. I always, like, I'm a beat this person. I've been very confident always, but see, when I really knew I was good was when I won my first state championship. Hello?
Yeah,
I won
I'm
my
here.
first championship in 2014. Because I was like 2014 when I won my first state championship. Not even that. I gotta think. I won a lot of stuff. Before then, I won a lot of stuff. But that's when I knew, like, all right.
Like you might have something here. Like I might be able to make a career out of this.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I always thought I was gonna be, you know, make a career out of it. But that's when I like, all right. You know what I mean? I'm getting good. Cause I had that ain't one of them tournaments. I had the golden gloves, you know what I mean? To get to the nationals, you don't pay your way. You had to fight the way to get there. I earned my way to the nationals, so that, you know, meant a lot. But another time when I knew I was good, I got my first knockout. I was 15 years old. Oh man, I might be nice. I knocked somebody out at 15. Look.
What was the combination you did to get old boy out of there?
It started with a left hook to the body, and then the second time I threw a left hook to the body and an overhand right. And it was over.
That's crazy. How many years had you been fighting before you won the Olympic trials?
I only was boxing for 5 years in total. Did everything in a short amount of time. Only had 5 years of boxing when I fought in the Olympic trials. 5 years and a couple months. It was very short. I did what people did in 15-year amateur careers in 5.
That's what makes you kind of unique to me. Is like you just are you just mentally tough? Do you just learn things quick? What is it that's so special about you if you think deeply about yourself?
First of all, I'm one of the hardest working fighters. Like I work hard in the gym, anything. But I gotta give a lot to my original coach because I had a lot of talent. Like I was physically stronger than a lot of people, and he gave me a good foundation, and whatever I didn't have, he taught me. Like he taught me how to. Like I was one of the fighters. If I'd have went to any other coach, I think to start up, they probably would have had went off of my strengths, made me a banger. He taught me how to box, use my jab, this, that, and third, and then we clicked. It was just we just was like the perfect match. He was like the perfect coach to start me out. Like, you know what I mean? And another thing is I can make adjustments on the fly. Like I'm good at that. Oh snap! I'm sorry. So many people call me.
Ah, you're a boxing superstar. I'm on with boxing superstar Paul Kroll. This is just what's normal when you're on with a superstar. People blowing up your phone. This is called normal.
I'm just like everybody else.
So,
But no, I just a student of the game. That's if I can sum it up, it's just that I'm a student of the game, and I had a great coach to start me out, and I got great coaches now that I'm with now too. Greg Hagan, Mike Melvin.
okay. And my next question is, what was the experience trying to qualify for the Olympic trials? Because I imagine that might have been a crazy experience going to all these different countries, not knowing the food that you want to eat. I know that's an issue for me when I go to another country. What was that like?
See, Olympic trials, we didn't really travel. I ain't never traveled. Hold on, I gotta do this thing. I ain't never traveled. I never traveled, outside the country until after I won the Olympic trials. But, you know, this is the crazy part. Actually, during the Olympic trials, I was actually going through something. Like I really wasn't in the gym like I was supposed to be. And my coach at the time told me something. He said, if you don't get on it, God's gonna take it from you when you want it the most. For an Olympic trials, right? I lost the first night. That saying, I thought it was over. I didn't know about the double elimination. I thought it was over. I was crying, dang, I blew it, man. Then I heard about the double elimination. Something clicked in my head. I ain't losing. I don't remember any fight after the first one until the championship. After that, that's when I started. That's when I could tell you about. I remember the first fight against Joey all day. Then I remember the last two fights when I beat Ardrell Holmes twice in the championship. They're the only fights I remember. Everything else is pure like determination. I don't care what I gotta do. I'm winning.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah, I was in tunnel vision. Yeah.
Tunnel vision. So I gotta ask you, we gotta get into the craziness. When you started your pro career, just talk about the beginning of your pro career, because your pro career is definitely not like anyone else's pro career, and then we'll get into kind of the tragedy that surrounds your career. But let's just start about you turning pro.
Turn pro. And I forget the date now. I know it was 2018. It was on Marshall Kaufman card. It was time. I was 23, I think. Yeah, 23. I was supposed to turn early, but I had a little situation that held me back. But I think it was meant for me to go through what I went through and not to turn so early. Because during that time off, I got to know myself. Like that's a big thing, understanding who I am. I learned patience, and everything in my life was happening so fast because I did all that in 5 years and I was about to just be moving too fast. It slowed me down. And most of all, anybody that wasn't good for me is not around me no more.
Well, I think that's a story a lot of young people need to hear. I'm involved with a nonprofit, and we have a lot of kids that are in tricky situations and they're boxing. And I think that that's often people either grow up or they have a family member that they love, but they might put you in a tough situation. And that's a common story that I hear, that people have so much loyalty and love for someone, but then the situations that person puts you in are no good.
Mm-hmm. And now it's basically like this. I surround myself with people that's either doing good or got the same. Now you gotta be having something going good for you. Like even if yeah, we could still be friends and stuff if I knew you from, but if you had nothing going for you and you're not trying to better yourself, I can't really hang around you because I'm not like I don't know what you into no more, and it ain't good for me. Like if you ain't doing nothing positive, there's no point in being around you. I could be in the house with my daughter. I got a 2-year-old daughter. I might spend time with her. I miss so much time with just training, and you know what I mean, that's time I give my daughter. And that's all I do. I go to the gym. If I got a little job to do, I do that. Or I'm in the house with my family.
So
Cause
we got,
nothing else.
I got to ask you, this is like the $1 million question that I think the whole world wants to know about you. Um, for lack of a better word, what the heck happened when you got arrested? Or what was the beginning or the aftermath? What happened in your own words?
I was a kid that made a bad decision that almost, I'm gonna say almost because I'm here and I'm not locked up and stuff, that almost threw away 5 years of hard work, but I just look at it like it was a blessing in disguise because I learned so much from it. It made me into the man I am today. I got a daughter out of the situation. I probably wouldn't have had my daughter. There's a lot that probably would have never happened. It's just so much. I look at everything like everything supposed to happen anyway. That's how I look at it. Things in life, if you go through it, it's just how you deal with it. You know what I mean? It just taught me a lot. But it was a kid made a wrong decision, you know what I mean, and that I learned from. And now, I'm past that. You know what I mean? I don't forget about it, but I'm past it. And moving forward with my life, I'm trying to do the right thing and be positive and be an example for the kids coming up behind me, because I understand it might be kids that look up to me. I mean, you don't have to be a statistic. You don't have to go back there. You don't even have to get involved in it. If you know what I mean, none of that. If you got something you doing that's positive, keep doing it.
No, I hear you on that. I have to ask from my personal experience because I had a really bad tragedy happen to me this year. I won't make my problems your problems, so I won't get into it.
Yeah.
But I went through something that I think it's safe to say nobody would ever expect to ever go through this situation in their life, right? Like when I got the phone call, it was like, oh, that happens to everybody but me. And with that person, it's hard to not blame myself or to think that I could have done something to fix a situation. Do you ever relive that moment in moments thinking about it, or have you channeled it only for positivity?
No, it's times like, cause I got a friend I got two friends that was younger than me that got shot a lot of times. I got another friend that got shot and that's incarcerated right now out of that situation. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think about it sometimes like, dang, like sometimes like, dang, I made the wrong decision and it ain't just affect me. You know what I mean? But what I do, that reminds me that I'm not just fighting for myself. Like that did it. I'm fighting for more than just myself, more than just my family. You know what I mean? That's a reminder that like, you know what I mean? None of them you know what I mean? Sometimes I do feel like, yeah, it'd be my fault, but they both tell me the same thing because I talk to them. You know, no, it ain't your fault, man. Things happen. I mean, you doing what you're supposed to do. Just keep doing what you're doing. And as long as you're doing that, I mean, everything, I mean, you good. We all good.
So I'm gonna make a weird comparison. I grew up boxing and skateboarding. And skateboarding, there was a guy named Guy Mariano, and he was a guy that was like a legend, but then he fell off for whatever reason. When he came back, like the whole skateboard community embraced him. They wanted to see this legend come back. When you came back to boxing, did you feel like the Philly gyms embraced you when you got back?
Yeah, of course, they did. Cause it was like, if you think about it, everybody was rolling. It's like everybody was waiting for me, waiting to see what I was gonna do. And that crazy thing, you wanna know something? When I first came back, I fought in an amateur fight and I lost. And it wasn't even like I ain't taking away from the kid. They just when the fight was over, I'm like, whoa, I don't even know what happened. Like that fight was boy, I just let this kid beat me. Like, and hats off to the kid, he won, you know what I mean? But I was like, I rushed it and I'm like, it's time to turn. I could tell it was his time to turn. And then coming off of that, it made me, it humbled me though, because I thought, man, I'm gonna beat this kid up, da da da. You know what I mean? It made me understand, no, you gotta be right, champ. You gotta be right every time, no matter what. Cause just like you was hungry, there's kids out there just as hungry as you.
Now I want to talk about your last fight against Lucas Santa Maria. The
Great
dude's
fight,
tricky.
great fight.
Dude's tricky. The dude's tricky.
Yeah.
He's like one of these guys. I was watching the fight and I felt like you were gonna win towards the end because you were being a veteran and you were edging out the fight. But the kid started so strong. To some people, I felt like they could get the perception his first couple of rounds um, were just 2 rounds, but they were very dramatic. What did you think of him?
And I'm gonna give my hat off to him. He a lot better. But one thing I can say, cause I shared the ring with him, he a lot smarter. He's smarter than people gonna think. He actually in there thinking, and we was both making adjustments like throughout the rounds, you know. And then I like Silvery. He's a good. He gonna be all right. He gonna be a good fighter. I see how he made upsets. I was just able to keep my composure and make the better adjustments. And I always say, if I'm as great as I think I am, I'm supposed to be able to get through it. That's why I don't really like even that fight. You know, it was a great win for me, biggest win of my career so far. But ain't nothing to celebrate about. It was a win. The fight over with. I've got another fight coming up December, January, and that fight behind me now. It don't mean nothing no more to me because I got another fight coming up, and I got a long term goal. Until I reach my long term goal, none of the other short term goals matter because that's how you get too big headed and you forget the prize. My goal is to become one of the best defensive fighters that put a pair of gloves on. Doing that, I'm gonna become multi-world champion, make all the money, all that. But that's my goal. That's the number one goal. Everything I got little goals in between, but that's the number one goal. Until I complete that, there's no reason to celebrate.
I gotta ask you, who is, in your opinion, your greatest competition for the greatest defensive fighter ever?
You got a couple. I'm gonna tell you, you got. I'll give you a couple. It's ooh. See, I can't just give you one. Like everybody say, oh, Floyd, he one of them. But you can't just give out one because it's so many people that was better. Like I ain't gonna say better, good defensive fighters before him too. But I'm gonna just give you a group of people that out like on defense that I don't like my name going on. You got Floyd, Andre Ward, you got Mel Whitaker, you got James Toney, you got who else?
Sweet Pea?
Yeah, I see him. I see him.
Okay.
So Floyd, Andre Ward, Pernell Whitaker, James Toney, and that's what I can think of at the top of the head. And that's defensive fighters. Like if I could, I mean, I want to be better than all of them. Actually, like I don't want to be just but I want to be better than all of them. I don't settle for nothing else than number one at what I'm gonna try to be at.
Okay,
But
so
I watch them a lot. Like
Oh, what were you saying? You watch all those guys a lot?
Yeah, I watch all of them. More so James Toney, Floyd, and Andre Ward. I watched Sweet Pea too. Now that I know how to fight southpaw, you know what I mean. So I watch him. I can watch him a little more to like imitate it. But the more three that I fight is Andre Ward, Floyd, and James Toney. I watch them, and they give you three different type of defenses. Like one, one does it with his hands up. That's Ward. Floyd does it, in close, out range. You know what I mean? He give you different looks, and James Toney beautiful on the inside, defensive wise. Yeah, and countering.
My two favorite fighters, James Toney, Bernard Hopkins.
Oh yeah,
So
Bernard got the. Yeah, I actually was watching some Bernard. You didn't watch. I used some of what I seen Bernard do to get some of them frowns in that fight, the last fight.
which fight of Bernard's? Because I'm a big Bernard. I watch pretty much all of Bernard and all of James Toney. I've seen every fight over and over.
I watched him at Oscar, of course, but him, Trinidad, and I watch a lot of his fights though. Like I believe he like a great fighter. Like I watched a lot of them. Like sometimes I just put it on and just watch. Like when I put them fighters on, I just watch whatever back to back.
I tell young fighters sometimes just get used to watching those guys, even if you're not studying something. Just try to act like you walk like them, because I think even walking like a fighter, thinking like a fighter, seeing a fighter, it's contagious, man. You want to be around greatness. You don't want to be watching the average stuff. You want greatness to be normal.
You gotta shoot for the stars.
No, I love how efficient Bernard is. Like, there's a guy who never wastes energy more than Bernard Hopkins.
Yep.
No, that's. Hey, before I get you out of here, man, who do you got, Tio or Lomachenko? I need that expert.
I'm going with Tofimo. I had to try to pronounce the name right. I'm going Tofimo. I've been saying that from the beginning. We the next era. We the next group. You know what I'm saying? And it's time for, you know what I mean? Be great, champ. Cause he do that, he great. Go be great. I mean, shock the world. That's all he gotta do.
To me, oh, go ahead.
But he gotta respect Lomachenko still. Like it's like gotta have some type of respect. Cause at the end of the day, he is who he is, and he had been in fights where we know he can fight from the ground up. He can fight from leading, from being on top, and he can fight if it's a game war in the beginning. This fight right here don't really tell you much about Lomo, but it solidifies Teofimo career really if he pulls this victory off. It it basically he passes the torch if he can win this fight.
And to me, it reminds me of Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. Like a young fighter, no one quite wants to believe he's what he is. Michael Spinks was the gold medalist, light heavyweight, moving up. I get Spinks is no Lomachenko, but
Yeah, but I know what you're saying though. I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you mean. Like I know what you mean. I I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
then someone could be like, well, Fernando Vargas tried to do the same thing, and then that kind of derailed. So like, if you can't even look at history for this fight because
this one of the fights based on them two. It's based on them two. Who wanted more and who gonna live who gonna live for that moment? Not in the moment, but who gonna live for that moment and get the job done? Because you can get caught up in the lights and look up at the eighth round. Oh snap! Who gonna execute the proper game plan and get the job done? That's all it comes down to. Who gonna be the better man that night?
And
and they could probably fight the next week and all that, and it probably be a different outcome. But all that matters is that night. When you fighting, all that matters is who gonna be the better man that night.
yeah, and that kind of gets me back to your fight. I know you don't want to talk about the past, but your Santa Maria fight, you did what you had to do to win. Like you,
I had Like I had great sparring. Like I mean, I sparred my coach too. Like so, I knew Sim Maria shocked me. I thought he was going to come forward more. Like, cause even in the early rounds, like people forget this. Like the reason I see why people think the fight was so close was this. I was winning a lot of rounds, but each round was competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I got hit with the body shot in the second round, if you watched it, I got hit with the body shot. But before that body shot and after that body shot, I controlled the rest of the round, the fight around. But people get dramatic off of one thing and they forget that's only one round. Everything starts over the next round.
And I'm like I've always felt like I originally was from Oakland. I've always felt like the Bay Area is kind of like a cousin to Philly. Our fighters are kind of similar with Bay Area fighters, and I can see this happen to Philly fighters. If guys just throw a lot of punches and they're not landing, there's going to be some people. Well, he threw a ton. Like even though the punch output wasn't that much different, the other guys offering the
First
illusion.
of all, I gotta say something about that.
Yeah.
I watched the fight over. When I was landing like a couple punches, they ain't kept some of mine. But forget that. Like, forget that. If you look at his last couple fights, right? When he fought Mekhi Fox, look how many punches he landed on him.
Yep.
And almost 200. I limited them to under 100 punches. And that was my first time stepping up on that level. I don't throw a lot of punches anyway, so I don't, you know what I mean? I really don't throw a lot of punches. So if you look at, that's why I say the judges didn't get it wrong, because you look at his last couple fights, he does way more than that. I controlled him. And I landed cleaner shots, clean shots. Yeah, he got a beard, he got a good chin. But the clean shots is what went around.
Okay, we gotta get going soon, but I just gotta ask you, what's next for you? Obviously, you said you got a date. I'm sure you probably can't talk too much about it, but can you just tell people that are fans about the?
Just follow me on Instagram, Paul Krollboxing _ I'm keep everything posted. Twitter, Krollboxing, Facebook, Paul Kroll, and as soon as I get more information, I'll I'll keep posting and tell everybody. And it's Punisher time, and everybody in my weight class. It's Punisher time, and I'm coming to take over.
I'm glad you brought up that because when I jog, sometimes I always think about if I had one pro fight, like I fought a media guy, I'd make someone say it's Lukey time or something because every one of my favorite fights, brother Nazim would be saying it's executioner time, and that means so much to me when you say it's Punisher time because that brings me back to Tuesday night fights.
Yep, it's crazy. That's something my dad, my coach that started me out, and that's how they started. Like it was one would yell out what time is it, the other one would yell out it's Punisher time, and then eventually they would yell it out and the crowd would say it. So that's when I'm like, oh, that's sticking with me. I like that.
I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about boxing is when like there's something cool about the fighter where you go in and then like I still like it when people are like excited to see a fighter. They're like, "Oh, that's Paul Kroll. I've never seen him in person." Or like you're walking out in an outfit and it's like you feel the energy. To me as a nerd of boxing, I love it.
Out though, like when I walking out, I don't really pay. Like I don't get caught up. Like, cause honestly, like I love the fans and everything. I love the fans because they. You know what I mean, but I'm in the ring. I'm fighting. I don't care if y'all booing or not. Cause guess what? Y'all not in this joint. I'm gonna do what I gotta do to win. Now I do have a fan friendly style. I got an action pack. I want all the smoke, but at the end of the day, it's about executing the game plan. If as long as I get the W, that's all that matters.